Alright, we're back. So last time in our previous video, we have seen how we have analyzed this problem, the two-sum problem for both the brute force and also the optimal solution. So now we will be coding it. So let's start with whiteboarding solution, and then later on, we will be coding it in LeetCode itself so that we can actually see it running. Alright, so let's start for the brute force. For the brute force solution, we have defined previously that we will have two cursors. So one will start here at the very first index, and the other one will be on the index right after that. So it will be here. And then we will be iterating through the entire array, right? So it will go all the way to the right, and if we find it, then we will be returning both the pairs. So in this case, we will have, so I'll write the function or the method signature. So public int, so we will be returning an array pair. And we will have two inputs, so nums, and this one we will call target, which is an int. Okay, so since this is the brute force solution, we'll have two for loops. The first for loop will iterate from the very first index. I is less than array or nums at length, the length of the array, and I plus plus. Okay, so here, as you can see, we are iterating through the entire array, and the next thing is we have to iterate. This will be I plus 1, because we have defined previously that it will always be an item or an element after the current index of I. And then j is less than nums net length. As long as we haven't reached the end, we will iterate through it, and then j plus plus. Okay, so I'll remove that first. So if nums I plus nums j is equal to the target, then we can already return our solution. This is our solution. So return new int, and then we have our I and our j. All right, and our for loop. Oh yes, so this is something I always forget, but you have to remember to have it. So you have to add their default result in case you haven't found any result in our array. All right, so basically that's it. Now let's proceed to coding in LeetCode itself. All right, now let's try running this problem in LeetCode. So as we were mentioning earlier, we will be going through the entire array. And then for each element of that array, we will be going through all the items to the right of it. So I plus 1, j is less than nums net length. Oh, yes, so it should not be I is less than 0, so I is less than nums net length. And then j plus plus. Now we have to check if nums I plus nums j is equal to the target. If it is, return new int I and j. And our default solution, return new int, which is an empty array. So let's try running this application and see. All right, awesome. And submit. So there you have it, our two-sum problem. Okay, so let's start coding the optimal solution. So we have mentioned previously that we will be starting at index 0 as well, and then iterate through the entire array only once. We will be able to do this with the help of a hash map, okay, which is a key value pair. And we will be storing all the items that we see here, so 3, 5, and 2. Okay, so to code this, we will have the same method signature, public int pair int nums int target. Alright, and then we have to declare our map integer map is equal to new hash map. Okay, and then the next thing we need to do is iterate through the entire array. So for loop int I is equal to 0, I is less than our nums.length, I plus plus, and then we need to calculate for the complement. So the complement is calculated, so complement is equal to target minus nums I. Okay, and then we have to check if our map that contains that key, so complement, and if we find it in our map, it means that we already have our result. So return new int, and the result will be, ideally you would have the one already in the hash map on the left hand side. If you want to maintain the order, map.get complement, and then our current index. Okay, otherwise, if it's not yet in the map, we have to put it in the map.put. So as mentioned, right, the value will be the key instead. Okay, so nums I, and then I, and then basically that's it. All we have to do next is return an empty array if we haven't found any pair. So that's that. Now let's try coding this in LeetCode. As mentioned, we will have to have a map. For the key and value, it will be both integer, new hash map. Okay, so for int I is equal to 0, I is less than nums.length, I plus plus. We need to find a complement, so I'll name it C. Int C will be equal to target minus nums I if map that contains key C. We will already know that this is a solution. Return new int, so this will contain map that get C. So if we do map that get C, we'll be getting the index. Okay, because that's what we need. Map that get C, and then the current index that we are in. Otherwise, return new int. No, we have to put it in the map. Map that put. Okay, so we have to put the value in the map as the key, and then I for the index. If we haven't found anything, we return new int. It will be an empty array again. Okay, so basically that's it. Run the code and submit the solution, and let's see. Okay, there you have it. So the brute force and the optimal solution. Alright, so if you have any questions, just comment it down below, and see you again next time.